everybody. This is Boris Schlossberg. Welcome to the brand new season of the Trading Battle. I am so excited to have today Chris and Blake with us, two amazing traders. It's going to be a great season for us. We're going to have lots of traders, lots of trades. We're trading for fun. We're trading for charity. We're trading for education. So hopefully you guys can hit us with any question you like. Put them up in the question box. No question is off limits. I'll make sure that the traders answer anything that you guys like. But we're going to have a great show for you today, and I hope you really enjoy it. Anybody from Dubai to Dubuque, welcome to our show. Tell your friends, get your friends on the stream, because you're going to learn some very interesting things about the markets. And speaking of the markets today, we of course had a rock and roll day in the equity markets and also in the FX markets as well, because US CPI came in much hotter than expected. And as many of you may know, that really puts a huge wrinkle on where the Fed is going to be as far as interest rate cuts. The market has already sort of moved away from 7 cuts down to 4 cuts. And therefore, there's actually very reasonable scenario that they're not going to cut at all this year, given the strength of the economy and given the fact that the inflation still remains relatively buoyant. What that does to stocks, what that does to equities, what that does to FX, what that does to gold, what that does to oil, all of those are going to be really interesting questions, with some trades that are going to be made, and hopefully some profits will be banked as well. So without much ado, I'm going to start the show by introducing you to the man, the Pip Tsar himself, the man who trades every product under the sun, Blake Morrow. Come on in, Blake. Say hello to us. And
hey, what's going on, Boris? Good to see you, and thanks for having me back on the Trading Battle.
So great to have you, as always. Blake, of course, is the founder of ForexAnalytix. He spent most of his life, professional life, as a strategist for Wise Trade. I've known Blake for quite a long time. He's traded virtually every asset under the sun. He's traded for institutional money. He's provided research for retail traders. And now I think he just basically plays golf. Now he also trades too. Right?
I wish that I played golf all day. I'm not like our other contestant who's coming in soon. So.
Right. Our other contestant is a professional golf player, but for him, for us, it's just fun. But Blake runs, as any of you may know, a very interesting site called ForexAnalytix. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it covers something like 30 instruments, maybe even more. Everything from FX to equities to commodities. Is that correct?
That's correct. And we even have a couple cryptos sprinkled in there too. But it's mostly a community. That's what we try to foster, because so many people trade from home, and so many people trade even in their offices, but they're not in financial markets. So giving people a safe place to communicate with one another. Everybody's like-minded. We don't talk politics. We don't talk. Sometimes we talk Netflix, I guess, when it's really slow. But we really just talk about what's moving the markets, and having that community, that sense of community, being able to jump in a room every day and know who's around you, know there's our staff there 24 hours a day. That's really the heartbeat of what we do. That's nice. Yeah, community is really important. I trade in the chat room myself, and it just makes a huge difference. Both, I think, I don't know if you find it. I find it very true that other traders in the room actually trade much better than I do, and many of them make my ideas much better. I think people always think that trading is kind of a very lone wolf sport. It really isn't. It's a very collaborative sport. The markets are vast and huge. There's more than enough ideas for everybody to make money, because there's so many different ways to make money in the markets. And I find having a community aspect really helpful, not just for emotional aspect of it, but just for the intellectual, for the financial aspect of it. Yeah, no, and I 100% agree. And for me, I'm only one person, and I have a lot of other job duties that I take care of, managing ForexAnalytix and our communities and all our different products. So having those dozens and dozens and dozens of extra sets of eyeballs looking at different things, they bring up a lot of good trade ideas, and a lot of ideas that I know which traders that trade like me and are in that same state of mind, if you will. So I can really leverage some of their ideas, and then hopefully people can learn from what I do and other traders. And we all trade. We all trade actively. Some trades we do really well with. Some we take losses. Sometimes you have a string of losses. How we deal with it, and talking to other traders that are in similar situations or have been in similar situations is great. also, we also try to keep people humble, when you're streaking, because we all know as traders, when you're streaking in the market and you're doing really well, a lot of times to make some.
There's nothing more certain than death and taxes is the fact that when you're hot, you're going to get cold in trading. It's a mean reversion game. Tell me a little bit more about the service. You guys have a very, very interesting service. Lots of aside from the chat room, you also have a tremendous amount of analytics and indicators. Give us sort of an idea of what you guys offer, and what are some of the premium plans that you guys have available for people who are interested.
Well, we just have one plan really, and it's all encompassing, but it's a mobile app. It's a desktop platform that runs, it runs live squawk all day. We have some news services that release when the data comes out, called Data Flash. So, as soon as that data hits the market. Yeah, it's kind of like Bloomberg. It's like having that, just that instantaneous known when the data is being released. Right. We have different types of analysis. So everything from macro to basic to candlestick to Elliott wave, harmonic type of analysis. So you try to mold it all together, because some of those are reversion to the mean type of strategies. Some of them will try to find high and low points in the market. Other ones are trend following strategies. So when you can kind of get them all in the same direction, it assists traders that are really just trying to find some ideas, and B, some sense of analysis of everything going in one direction. Right. Then also we have patterns in play, which are, basically I like to call it like a trade idea by the book. So when you see like a head and shoulder pattern, we'll alert our database that, hey, there's a setup that is, taking form, and we try to manage it like it would be by the book. And we've been keeping records of these trades. There's like literally 1,500 of these trades over the course of the last 7 years. And it's not just from me, it's from the rest of our analysts at ForexAnalytix too. So it's a team effort.
How's that record held up? Has it been pretty good?
Interesting. It's interesting. A lot of people always say, when you trade, if you can be right 50% of the time, you can still make money if you use good risk management. If you look at our closed patterns in play over 7, it's right 52% of the time. Now, this is a team effort. However, our maximum risk per reward is over 3 to 1. And it's up over 300% over the course of 7 years. So it just goes to show you don't have to be right all the time. It's all having good risk management and being able to manage a trade inside of some sort of strategy that you're following.
Yeah. What's your favorite part of the platform? Like, what patterns or what tools do you lean on most when you go to your own go-to trades?
Well, that's a good question. I tend to lean on a lot of my my other analysts that focus on other type of analysis, like harmonic and Elliott wave counts, which isn't my forte. It's not my strength. So I have team members that have been with us since one, literally putting out their ideas every single day. And so if I'm going to, let's say I'm going to be long the dollar, I might want to look at some other analysis just to make sure that, I'm on the right track.
Cool. Now, the package you offer is actually, I think it's $1,700, valued around $1,788. But if you're watching the TTB right now, I think Blake has a special deal for you, right?
I do. We have a really steep discount for any of you that want to be involved in the ForexAnalytix community. What we do is we keep the price to $1,000 even. That's like the lowest price that we ever go for an annual subscription. But with an annual subscription, you're in our community. You get our analysis. You get our private shows. We do many private shows throughout the course of the day. And not only our shows that are public, that have been broadcasting for 7 years now, we also have our private shows that you're entitled to as well. So it's a really community. And if you're a trader, you're at home, you feel kind of lonely from time to time, jump in our community. It is literally the most active community I've ever seen, with trade ideas, people around the clock trading the markets. And it's not just me. It's our staff. It's traders that are inside of our community, posting what they're buying and selling. It's a really nice place to be every day.
And I know you yourself are a big degen, because I've pinged you like at 4:30 your time, 7 o'clock my time, and you're up and tweeting back at me.
Always.
So we're always following the markets. Well, good to have you on the show.
Thank
Really
you.
looking forward to your trade ideas. Let's get introduced to our next guest, Chris Pulver, the man with a putter, the man with a golden putter. How are you, Chris? Chris,
I'm doing well, Boris.
Is the founder of and CIO of Streamwise Capital. I'm actually curious the name. How did that come around? And he's also the senior analyst at Market Traders Institute. He really brings about 20 years worth of active trading and public markets experience. He's really one of the most thorough, logical, methodical traders I've ever met in my life. What I love about Chris is just he's got just this clarity of thought when all of his ideas and a clarity of method. I think that you'll find very interesting. We're going to discuss that as we get into our trades. Chris, you've basically kind of developed into a multi-market, multi-strategy focus, right? And what I found fascinating that I was really kidding with you the other day. It was like, hey, do you trade zero DTEs? Thinking, my God, that's like the last possible thing that you would do. And you said, yeah, we do that too. And that's really, really fascinating. We'll talk a little bit about all of the stuff you do. You can find him, of course, on every platform. He's got a great Twitter feed. You can find him on TikTok, but also he runs a lot of education. And Chris he's a far better educator than I am because he's got infinite amount of patience and he's great at explaining his concepts. So, highly recommend you kind of get together and, take a look at what, Chris is doing. Tell us a little bit about, some of the stuff you've been doing. Tell us a little bit about Streamwise Capital. Tell me why the name. Actually, I'm curious.
Yeah, Streamwise Capital, I thought about it this way. I mean, I am a pretty flexible trader. I'm very open-minded, and I look at the way that you trade as you got to go with the flow. And so, your FX flow, Boris, I know that, and I trade like water. I kind of like the Bruce Lee quote, "Be like water,"
You water.
And I just think that trading, you got to put your ego aside. It's not about being right. It's about being profitable. I've said for years, trade to be profitable, not perfect. And these things have, held up to, all the adjustments I've made over the years. When I came into trading this year, I wanted to increase my scope and my reach. I mean, I have a YouTube session that I'm doing 3 days a week. I'm joining with A1 Trading with Nick Sayak, and I'm sure he'll be on the trading battle later in the season as well. But I am as active as I can be, giving back to the trading community on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. I have a Discord group that's free to join. So I'm just putting myself out there trying to help traders. And because I trade Forex, because I trade stocks and options, because I trade crypto, I think that covers a lot of stuff. And I've really gravitated to options. I mean, really, the money I manage now is probably about 90% equities, options, futures, indexes, just for defined risk and just for creativity, just because there's so much you can do. And Forex, I remain a Forex investor where we talked about this and, we were off the show, but I love the Swiss pairs right now where I'm long against the Swiss except for the yen, and I'm enjoying carry. I'm positioned at 20 to 30-year lows, and this is my big position trade for the last, 6 to 12 months. And so when it pays, I'm looking to double my account, if not more. I'm looking to scale in and add to my positions. I'm being very patient on my levels. But I told traders, the last 3-4 months, I don't care how long it takes. I know where I want to get out. I know how I want to get in. And we're starting to see the signs of the Swiss pairs really taking off.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. We're going to talk a little bit about your methodology, which I think is fascinating and really, really, I think, well suited for the non-degenerate trader, which is the people who don't trade with me, like people who simply can't look at the screen 24 hours a day. Your positional trades, I think, are really, really fascinating in terms of sizing and everything else. We'll talk a little bit about that. But I want to ask you a little bit more about Edge Finder, the tool that you use with Nick. Nick is a friend of the show as well, of course. Tell us a little bit about what Edge Finder does, because I think it's a really interesting kind of a portal to a huge amount of analytics. And also tell us a little bit about the discount that people can get if they sign up for Edge Finder.
Sure. I mean, Nick is great. Frank is great. Ivan's great. The whole team at A1 Trading, they do a great job, and they keep the Edge Finders. They're basically their hallmark product, and they keep making it more and more robust. It's an AI dashboard, and so that's the big word nowadays. Everyone's AI, but they just scrape the markets and scrape the data points. They bring everything into one space. I think that if we were to find the data points, similar to what Blake has with ForexAnalytix, I mean, there's so much information that they're bringing in and offering that service to members, and Nick does the same thing with A1 Trading. When it comes to, I'd probably have to find, 100 different data sources to find the news that's all in one space. And I can just, easily navigate it, very user-friendly, very intuitive, lots of data, lots of content to form trade ideas, go from top-down analysis from macro all the way to, executing trades. And that's super, super helpful for anybody with the Edge Finder. When it comes to, trading, I mean, Boris, like you said, I mean, I probably am live way more than I should be. I probably teach 25 hours a week as far as live sessions and trading rooms. And so that's where Market Traders comes in as well. I have a Forex trading room. I have a stocks and options trading room. I trade 0 DTE, which I really just like crash course myself into last year and was fascinated. I mean, I've been trading options since like 2015, 2016 to help my portfolio and kind of, improve my cost basis, but protect portfolio. And I mean, 0 DTE is daily expirations are about 40% of the volume right now in options. It is insane, and the liquidity is incredible. Now, what's kind of nice about it is if you want to learn how options play out and all the dynamics and all the Greeks and all the crazy calculations, the efficiencies, you can see them happen day to day.
Yeah.
And I would say this, don't gamble with 0 DTE, but rather learn. Watch how delta changes. Watch how prices change. Watch how sensitive things are in a given environment. In a month of 0 DTE, you could go, it'd be the equivalent of learning like 3 to 6 months of trading options. It really is fascinating. So I'm happy to accelerate everyone's learning curve with that. So you guys want 0 DTE? Let's talk.
Like the Benjamin Bratton of options. It just it amplifies the life cycle.
It really does.
From days to minutes, and it's fascinating to see. You're absolutely right. So the deal that you have on offer here, it's a 40% discount to all TTB members. Trading Battle 2024 is the code that you guys should all use. And also, everybody listening to us, be sure to become a member of the Trading Battle, because as a member of the Trading Battle, you're going to be able to get, first of all, notifications of all the trading battles we have, but of course also access to all of these deals that nobody else is going to have. It's like having your own personal trading Costco card, Costco membership card to massive discount.
Gold, baby.
At all the, this is like for, I guess, all the North American traders, but also I think Costco is everywhere these days. I've seen it in the Middle East, so it must, everybody gets the idea. Big discount ideas as part of the Trading Battle. So be sure to become a member. Just all you do is just simply sign up with your email address, and then you're on the list and you have access to all this information. So great to have you guys. We couldn't start it on a kind of a better day. Today was a rock and roll day in equities. I mean, I'm sure you guys saw it, right?
Yeah.
Slid more than 1.5% in NASDAQ. And I think a lot of people, Blake and I have been tweeting for the last couple of days that we're feeling, tipping over. Equities are really getting a little top heavy. And today was a day where it just kind of pushed it off the edge. So the question I have today is our first trading challenge for all of us is we want you to trade an asset in the wake of the CPI release, which was super hot, which kind of screwed up everybody's assumptions about the future of the Fed and what it plans to do as far as interest rate lowering cycle, and may have some, I think, longer term implications on some of the assets. So I'm actually fascinated. So let's start with Blake. What would be the asset that you want to choose and which direction you want to go with? And by the way, if you guys hear sirens, it's because I'm in New York City, and it's just a part of every trading battle that I host. If it's not a siren in the background, it's not me hosting it. So just,
you're not really in New York City. Yeah, that's definitely a hallmark of being in New York City. So to answer your question, and Chris, you're going to like this because I, like you, I've been running Swiss. My biggest position in my book right now is long Euro Swiss, and it has been for the last month. So I've been picking it up since that spill off in December when Swiss strengthened dramatically. Obviously, we've gotten pushback from Jordan, from the Swiss National Bank Jordan. On top of that, the Swiss CPI came in weaker than expected. So on top of that, US CPI way hotter than expected. Well, hotter than expected on every metric. So my natural position is going to be long dollar Swiss. And so here's my only rub with this. Now, most of you that know me, you know that I get a little sketched out when we're getting close to a 618 Fibonacci retracement, which you can see this big one right here. But we closed above the 200 DMA, and that blue line that I just drew there, basically, I don't think the dollar is going to have much of a pullback. In other words, I don't think the dollar is going to see much below 88 cents. Now, I'm willing to put my stop below there, and I'm looking for a move up towards 90, towards 90.50. So the trade that I'm going to take, and I'm going to do this live right now, is I'm going to trade one lot now because I got to leave some room in my $10,000 account. I'm going to put in a stop, and I'm going to do this over here on ForexAnalytix so I can figure out exactly where I need to put my stop at. So entry price would be 88.75. Target 90.50. And then I'm looking for a stop at 87.89. So I'm risking basically 1 to 2. So I'm risking $1 to make 2. I'm going to put on a full lot, which would be 100,000 in currency. So I'm basically looking to make $2,000, risking 900. So I'm going to do that right here. My stop loss is going to be 87.90, and then I'm going to look to take profit at 90.49 because I'm going to get ahead of everybody else. I don't know why that is. Let me make sure. There we go. 4.9 and one full lot. Stop. Let's go just a hair below 90 in case they swipe the stops below the big figure.
The old let's not leave our stop with a round number. Okay, so don't worry about it. The platform is having a little flish. We're gonna mark the numbers. The most important.
Type it in the chat, Blake. You'll take care of it. I did the same thing. I'm looking to hedge.
Yeah, it's listen. Okay. This is internet. Do not worry. The most important thing I want everybody to see were the actual entries, because now we got it marked. And of course, if you're a member of TTB, you can come back. We can see how Blake's trades have really, played themselves out. Can we just come back to Blake's chart for 1 sec? I just want to talk to you through this. So walk me through your chart a little bit. You have a 200 DMA. What's the yellow SMA? The red is the 200.
That's the 50 DMA. So I always keep it. Yeah, I keep the 50 DMA usually on for when I'm trend following. So as long as we're staying above or below it when I'm going with the trend, I'll monitor that 50 DMA. But the 200 DMA, I keep it on there because everybody else is looking at it. So now that we closed above it, we should have some momentum. Plus, there's everything that just happened in the last, let's call it 24 hours, is going to weigh on the Swiss franc. And then you take Jordan, who spoke in Davos just what, 2.5 weeks ago? No, Swiss National Bank Jordan.
S&B president. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, Swiss National Bank president. And he was just like, he's not cool with the moves. They're done buying Swiss francs. So I think the dollar Swiss is just primed to go. So the 618 is a natural stopping point. I know why we stopped where we stopped, but I don't think that's going to be it. I think the dollar's got some juice in it. And I want to be long, the dollar Swiss in this environment. I already am, just so everybody's clear, I'm already short Swiss francs, and I have been literally since these levels. So if you look like me personally, but it's fine because when I look to get into a new position or I look to add to a position, I like to look at it from a brand new position outlook. In other words, if I didn't own it, like the dollar Swiss, I didn't own it long. Would I be buying it right now? And the answer to that question is, I would be.
It's a really, really, really interesting approach. So what I kind of want to point out to everybody on the chart that's fascinating is most of the time, this is a bad idea to do this, except for the times when you think you have a breakout. What you're looking at right now, I'm just looking at all of Blake's charts. See, if you have a breakout over here, you hold the 200 SMA, the RSI is 70. Generally, that's an overbought condition, except when you see it, you see the RSI, last time it peaked over there, you go all the way back, the last peak over there, that peak over there, 70 was a buy signal, not a sell signal. And if this repeats itself, that 70 becomes a buy signal, not a sell signal, you're going to see that spike as Blake was saying, into the 90 zone. That's going to take him to 2-to-1. That's going to take him to a perfect trade. So this is basically a bet on the fact that we have had a radical fundamental shift here, and flows are going to reorient themselves into a pro-dollar trade. Interesting look, interesting technical setup. So that's Blake's CPI asset trade. What's Chris's?
Well, I am taking 4 trades already. So here's what I'm doing. I would like to show I'd like to show my chart. If you don't mind, I'd like to piggyback on the dollar Swiss. So I, as well, this has been one of my big narratives the last 2 years, in fact, of just getting ready, getting prepared, waiting for, like I said, trade confirmation, not anticipation. But I broke that rule. I've been trading some anticipation on these Swiss pairs because all I've been doing was looking at, let's go to the higher time frame here. Here's a weekly time frame on the dollar Swiss. We're coming back to lows that we haven't seen since 2015 and flash crash lows in 202011. I'm very excited about being long dollar Swiss. What's that?
You love that. You love historical
I love
lows,
it.
right?
Yeah, for sure. I've been long this for the last year, and I'm just hanging on to it. Now, let me ask you this. Both of you guys in the Forex land, how disappointing was it to see negative swap in a positive interest rate environment last year? Most brokers and liquidity providers did not pass that buck on to traders until literally January of 2023, which was incredibly frustrating. So 2022, I started to anticipate these trades and get into them, and I wasn't reaping the benefits until January 1 of 2023. So I've held a lot of these through the year, collected that 3 to 4% differential. The one thing I want to point out, and Blake, I mean, I think we've got some good upside here. So what I'm doing here for the sake of the challenge is I'll show everyone what I'm doing here. I'm just going to type this on the screen. So I'm looking at, with the CPI news break, we can go to what the DXY do, right? This is the dollar index. This is my chart on the daily time frame. We've been waiting for some indecision to become decision the last couple of weeks. And here we have this holiday pivot that goes up into some indecision as we had the first FOMC meeting of the year. We break through that. And so what was interesting is we break new highs in the stock market, yet the dollar got stronger. I still think the dollar has some juice to the upside to come back to this 105.50 level. Possibly with the momentum behind this, we could see the dollar get up to 105.50 and possibly retest these highs where we had, the big Fed pivot last year. So it is possible that the trend in this kind of pre-summer push happens to be dollar strength, because I'm very curious to see if the dollar and the Fed don't look to be pivoting for rate cuts. I wonder how long other central banks are going to hang on to this notion of they're waiting for the Fed to cut before they start cutting. I think the ECB is going to cut way faster than the Fed. I think that the RBA, the BOE, I think all these other central banks are way more likely to cut before the Fed.
Well, I think that makes a lot of sense what you say fundamentally economically, because all those countries are doing terrible. European economy is just in the dumps, really, really having a hard time, especially with Germany, which is the engine of Europe, struggling very badly on their industrial base. UK also suffering badly. We, on the other hand, couldn't care less. You can keep rates right now as is. Nobody cares. The economy is booming. So there's very little reason for the Fed to cut, whereas there's a lot of reason for policymakers to ease in Europe and UK. And that just adds fuel to the fire.
Can I just throw one last thing in there? Remember 2023? 2023 was the year of U.S. exceptionalism, and as we came into 2024, that really wasn't the case. But look at the U.S. now, and I don't want to say look at the U.S. now and everybody else sucks, but U.S. data continues to outperform everybody else, and so Chris, you're right to say that everybody else, or at least a lot of the world, will be looking at cutting well before the Fed, especially based on the data we've been seeing. So anyway.
Yeah. And so if you can see my screen here I'm just typing this up for any followers and watchers out there. I mean, I'm taking positions for this. I know that I'm not sure what timeline we have in these trades as far as getting in and trading for charity. And, Blake and I might have now until Friday, if we're lucky. I mean, certainly in the next 24 hours, these trades won't be fully done. But what I'm deciding to do is I'm going to take, a neutral direction and just go after a bigger win. I think there's flow in the dollar, whether it's good or bad. I mean, there's two ways this plays out, right? You can look at the dollar index and see what the news did today. You go down to a smaller time frame. We just went into a massive push in 15 minutes, and then nothing else happened the rest of the day. So I see this as an opportunity to, one, this just drifts higher for the remainder of the week, and there's your dollar strength, or this fades back down and fills in this inefficiency that was created in the news today. So I want to be right on one of those trades. And so I'm just going to put a 50 pip stop on all of my pairs. I'm going to put 100 pip take profit, and I'm going to go net, try to make profit this week. So it's going to be a pretty simple trade because I'm giving myself that timeline. I think there's enough volatility and follow through that by Friday, we should have, hopefully 70 to 100 pips of movement in a direction. If that's enough, I mean, I'll check the P&L tomorrow. I'll check it on Thursday and Friday, and hopefully those profit targets get hit. and I'm walking away with 100 to 150 pips net, and we'll call it good. I think that'd be a good way to lock in some profit this week.
Sounds like it. Sounds like an interesting game plan. I like it. I like it. I want to. So thank you for the trades, guys. Very interesting positions. You guys are sort of thinking the same way, I guess, in a lot of this positioning. I want to change our tactic a little bit here. At the trading battle, we trade for fun, but we also trade for charity. And more than I think $40,000 has been given away to charity in our trading battles. I think probably even more than $50,000 in all the trading battles we've done. And I wanted to just take a minute for both of the guys to talk a little bit about the charities that they're trading for, because they're both very, very great charities. We'll start with Blake, who is ex-Marine, Semper Fi. And do you want to tell us a little bit about the charity that you trade for?
Yeah, sure thing. I'm going to trade today for the Warrior Project. Now, as many of you, or maybe some of you don't know, I am a combat veteran. I'm a Marine from 1990 to 1994, 3rd Battalion, 9th Marines. In Somalia, that's where I got my combat designation. I lived in between a couple of different campaigns. I went in the Marine Corps to go to Desert Storm. I missed it by 2 weeks. I was in boot camp or School of Infantry rather, when the ground war ended. And I obviously missed the campaigns in Iraq and Afghanistan. So I was kind of shoehorned in through Somalia. Anyway, a lot of my friends that I've known for years, a lot of them have been either wounded, some killed in action over the course of the last 25, 30 years. And usually I like to trade for the kids, but this time I'm feeling a little patriotic for my fellow soldiers out there. And the Wounded Warrior Project is a really great project that helps disabled veterans that have been disabled, dismembered in combat. And so I wanted to support them with the battle, because I remember the last time that I was on here, and I don't want to say who I beat, but there's a good chunk of change that went to the kids. So now I'm going to beat Chris down and send it off to the Wounded Warrior Project.
Well, it's a very noble cause, and of course these are great heroes of our country, and we of course always salute everybody in the armed forces. So thank you for your service. Thank you for your charity. Chris has a very different tack. It's a completely different charity, not perhaps not as severe or serious a subject as Blake has, but nevertheless, I think a really great charity. Tell us a little bit about what you're trading for.
Sure. Well, before my charity, I donated to the First Tee. I had friends that were directors of golf at certain places, and so the First Tee was always a good thing for youth golf, and that was a big thing in my past. This time I'm switching it up.
I never let you live that down. I never let you live the fact that you were basically doing a charity for people to play golf. But it is. Come on, man.
I mean, here's the deal. Look, there's the tour effect in golf, which is, did everyone see that Tiger Woods just released a TaylorMade line called Sun Day Red? So now has his own clothing line called Jumpman. The tour effect. Look, tour effect in corporate golf is not about growing the game. Junior golf is about growing the game. I work with local kids here. There's 60 kids on high school teams that if they start playing golf, they'll play it forever. And golf is a great networking tool. So that's what I did before. This is different. I just attended an event last week. So you can see it's Kitty CrusAIDe. They foster, they trap, they spay and neuter. They take care of the population where, I had no idea that cats can have like 25 litters. It's insane. Really? And so they're either going to, and they're like ferocious hunters, and then they get sick. It's awful. It's like terrible stuff to see. And you just don't realize how active these volunteers are with their time. And so going and see it in person, and they need, all the help they can get with just supplies, care, and just helping control the pet population. And it's right here where I live. And it's something local. It's something near dear to my heart, and being able to see it firsthand and see how it really benefits and how far it goes is really impressive. So that's why I chose this one. And if I'm in another battle, maybe I'll switch it up.
Great.
So I want to spread the wealth.
Anybody who's a pet owner definitely has a soft spot, and cats
for sure.
Cats are literally the most predatory animal in the start. You cannot, like, I remember there were just some ridiculous studies where a cat, like if they let it out of the house, would kill like 100 rodents in
Yeah.
a matter of days. It's just,
and they just kill. They will just
they're
kill. Yeah.
the most lethal animal around. I always think that if we have an apocalyptic end, and the world ends and all this buildings are going to be empty, the cats will survive, and they'll
Cats
be
and cockroaches.
Exactly. They will survive.
It's very
So
possible.
anyway, no, it's good that you guys are trading for both of those charities. It's great to have you guys here. Let's take a look at our second challenge now, because we're coming up to kind of past mid-show. And I want to talk to you a little bit about your favorite asset for sort of a longer-term trade for 2024. Now, there's lots of things to choose from, obviously. We have equities, we have FX, we have commodities. I'm curious if anybody leaning long gold, even though it got completely hammered today. I'm just curious to see. Let's start with actually Chris. Chris, why don't you lead off if you have a strong view on something, or if you want to take a few minutes, we'll go to Blake. Whatever you like.
No, I'm good. I think that so I'll take a look at the precious metals for a moment, because this year, I mean, I would say this: everything that happened in Bitcoin with SEC approved ETFs. The amount of inflows we've seen in those ETFs, Bitcoin making a run along with the dollar has also been interesting. We're up to 50K approaching fresh highs. Once we took out, go ahead.
Because I'm fascinated with this, because this is the most crypto rally, meaning that it is the most hidden rally. It is like nobody do you know anybody in retail that's trading crypto right now? I couldn't, I could not, I put a bowling ball down and I couldn't find half the people that are trading. Like, it's just completely died. Nobody's interested.
I think most of us were
I
waiting
think people.
for a dip. We
Sorry,
didn't
well,
get a dip.
I think about this too. I think you had a lot of bull market geniuses come out of nowhere and get on TikTok, and everybody in 2020 and 2021. Look, the markets will always humble you. So if you're long and holding the bag at 65,000 on Bitcoin and it goes back down to 17,000, you kind of feel like a moron. So I mean, we've seen this happen over the history of the instrument. It's like we've had 70 to 80% pullbacks. Right. I was long this year at 17.5. I was long at 25, and I got the breakout at 30. I just started to average in. I want to pull back right now. If I go to my charts, I was telling traders this week in my trading rooms, I would love to see some technical obedience here, where if we go up off this rally, okay, I would love to see something like this. I'd like to see a little bit of a broadening pattern. So maybe this is a fake out to the upside, and traders do in fact get a pullback. If that is the case, great. I'll buy back in around 40K or anything sub 40. If we don't get a pullback, what's stopping this run from getting back to 68K? And at that point, I feel like the volume, the momentum, it's so obvious that it's now just safe flow to possibly speculate it up to 100 grand. So anyway, I mean, I think that this trade is extremely interesting with all the approval. The market cap continues to grow. And I think that it just made it easier finally, right? You have, tell somebody that's 65 or 70 years old to open up a Coinbase wallet and do something that's off grid and it's ledger. It's like, that's why they don't do it. And so now I can just have 1 to 2 to 3% exposure in a stock portfolio. There's options available. Like, I trade one, it's a ProShares ETF. It's called BITO. So it's a ProShares Bitcoin ETF, and I trade options. And so I'm long options. I've got credit spreads. I've got all sorts of synthetic plays on there where I don't have to necessarily put a lot of allocation to it, but I've given myself enough time that I'm out to 2025, because I feel like if we go up to 68K, we go up to 100K, my call option is going to be worth like 20x. So it doesn't cost me a lot of money to be right. And at the same time, credit spreads and safe income and, cash secured puts and stuff like that, that's an easy way to trade Bitcoin. So I think that's an interesting play that maybe people are watching. I think, again, classic buy the rumor, sell the news. As soon as the ETFs came out, that was the top, and we pulled back, and all of a sudden it probably rattled some people. But here we are going back up at the highs. So I think Bitcoin is something to watch, and I wanted to get into gold because gold is also, to me, if we get above 2,100, I think gold possibly has the run that everyone wants it to have after the dollar weakens. And so I think this is going to be the toughest correlation to navigate. Is if the Fed doesn't cut and the market's disappointed of how much the Fed doesn't cut this year, we might see the dollar rally back up to 107, 107.50. But from this point, I would love to see dollar shorts come in this 107.50 to 108 level, fill this level. We have a high-low swing and see the dollar fall back down into that 101 to 100 level. That's where gold, in my opinion, gets its legs. I think that's where gold gets its wings. I think that's where gold breaks above 2,100. I think what's exciting about gold is just a measured move. if we go from this range and we measure that from this resistance to this resistance, I just do this. There's my range. If we break firmly above 2100, there's my projected move. Something around 2450, 2500. I'll do the same thing on silver. Silver gets above 26. I'm long on silver through $30 and up to like $34, $35. So gold and silver to me, it's going to play on the dollar, but when they're ready, I want to be very active and pretty aggressive in both of those instruments.
Interesting. So not yet, but definitely
not yet.
So what is what if you were gun to your head right now? What's a trade you'd make today?
Honestly, I'm doing so much trading, week to week on the indexes. I'm just trading the SPY, the Qs. I'm trading the SPX, the NASDAQ. That keeps me super busy. That keeps me really profitable. I manage my risk, and it gives me plenty of liquidity every single week. So, as an example, I'm just going to pull this up in Telegram really quickly, Boris. So I have some trades posted where I'm already in almost max profit going into this week. I could have made a lot more money as of today's sell-off, which is what I wanted. But let me bring up this. So I have a course that I do 0 DTE, and we do some week-to-week options. And so it's super busy. I'm doing some very inexpensive spreads on the SPY, the Qs. We did a bunch with earnings. We made a ton of money on Meta, a ton of money on Netflix and Google. But I trade a lot of just the index options because they're liquid, they're moving, and they're exceeding. Right now with CPI, and we have PPI on Friday, we're going to see a pretty big week. I think this week's candle on the SPY is likely going to be, an $11 to $15 move this week. Now, as we said earlier in the show, all the market needed was an excuse, right? We've had 15 of 16 weeks in a row bullish, and finally the market it got a little over its skis. It's finally ready for a pullback, and the market just ran with it. I mean, we had massive gaps today. Just the futures just fell off a cliff, and it wasn't a surprise that it was an overreaction to a improper forecast. Even though things are still trending in the right direction, it's just shifting so hard.
Right.
And a lot of this positive rally was all the optimism that got priced in ahead of time. So the market's always forward thinking. I think traders and investors forget that 6 to 8 months out, the market's always looking ahead. And so now they're like, oh boy, the Fed's not going to cut. What does that mean? And so we might see a decent correction where it just means we got to see if is it Mag 7, is it the top 25, is it the high concentration that continues to run with it? It's interesting that, yes, the U.S. economy is strong and resilient, but it's also kind of overvalued. As far as the stock market is concerned, we're trading at high PE ratios on that 12-month forward basis. And that's really scary to think like maybe this is la la land for the stock market right now, So I'm just watching stuff like that. And I trade very market neutral as far as I just try to make, if I can take 3 trades up, down, sideways, walk away net profitable, that's my job. All defined, go after the biggest win, let it hit some profit targets. If I walk away with, a 1 to 2% gain for the week, I position like that all the time.
Sounds good. Blake, what do you think about the equity markets? What do you think is the best, your challenge, the best trade for 2024? But the deeper question I have is price earnings compression, which I think is going to be.
First of all, are you sitting under my desk, Boris? Because you were obviously looking at what I was just typing a minute ago. You were.
What were you typing?
Price earnings compression.
If I had to say my trade of this year would be you short S&Ps right now, stops above 5,100, target 4,500. You could actually even target lower than that. But this is I'm just gonna throw it out there. I still think there's a lot of lags in the market. I think exaggerated everything, and we are going to be running into a weaker economy going into the end of the year. And I think weaker economy is also going to equate to weaker equities. So I'm going to put in my trade right now, just so you guys know. I had already was doing the stops limits.
Back up the truck.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go ahead and sell one full lot here in the S&P. I'm risking 1,500.
Wouldn't it be great if this was the top candle of the S&P for the year for your
incredible?
Trade? If this literally was like, we took out 5,000 and that was the top and we're done.
Interesting milestone. I was thinking that SPY, if the S&P could hit 5,000 and the Dow could somehow creep up to 40,000, I'm like, those are 2 great milestones to just rest on those and take some profits. But that would be crazy if the S&P, as the broad market's like, we did it, we hit an all-time high, and then reality.
Markets tend to do that. They love to run to round numbers because there's so much stops over there, and then it just unless you get fundamental support, it kind of just
and I really think that you have every every bear, almost every bear, I would say 95% of anybody who is bearish has turned bullish over the course of the last couple of weeks. I've been wanting to be on the short side of the S&P. I think this is the time right around these levels. And so if you ask me like the best trade of the year, it would be short like SPOOs, looking for us to trade significantly lower by the end of the year. When I say significantly lower, I'm not looking at for a crash or anything like that. Although I think we have the genetic makeup for a real big decline in equity prices for this year. But that doesn't mean that I'm expecting that. I think we could see an orderly, false breakout back below 4,800, trade back towards 4,500 by mid-year. And then, before we get a consolidation and into a Santa Claus rally type of situation.
Yeah, no,
but
I agree.
That would be my equity market trade of the year. Yeah. But I also want to be long yen. I think yen is the place to be, and not at this moment, but I'll just show you guys really quick. You got these comments from like, oh, I'm going to show you. And there's nothing drawn on these charts, so I'm just going to show you exactly.
As long as you have a stop loss, I fully support this thesis.
Well, look, I believe we're bullish up until we complete this flag pattern, which will be about 154-ish, somewhere right around there. We get up in those levels. I think Japan has to pull the trigger. I think they have to normalize policy. And this is their window. You have a strong U.S. economy right now. You have strong equity prices. Look at the Nikkei. Look what the Nikkei is doing. Absolutely. And then on top of that, inflation is their big worry at the BOJ is that we're seeing so much deflationary pressure in China, everywhere else, that they're not going to be able to get out of their deflationary slump. Well, I think we're going to see inflation stabilize at these levels. It's going to be really tough for all central banks to get inflation down below 2%. And the BOJ is going to be forced to normalize. Plus, even today, just tonight, Kanda, from the BOJ says FX moves are rapid, watching FX with high urgency. We'll take appropriate steps on FX as needed. Their talks is their first step before intervention. And usually they'll let that go for a while. So the dollar, I still think, has some room to rally. We get above 152, you got to start looking for the other way. So I think this will be the trade of the year. If you're in the FX world, I think we're going to be looking for a move back down into the probably 130s, 140s over the course of 2024. That's
one thing I'd like to add to that. Blake, how did you fare when it came to those 3 dramatic interventions in 2022? I mean, the top was in 2022 because of intervention. That's the first time in my career that I've seen a flash crash go not in the direction of the trend, right? That was what was crazy. It's like they are truly stepping in and trying to put a top in. They let it float. But by the time we had that November intervention, it was like we had October, November, and then a big push in January as the crown was already in or the top was already in. But that to me was crazy. Usually it's flash everybody out, bust up the markets, then reverse, and you've got that 2,000 or 3,000 pip decline from late 2022 into early 2023. But how do you think this plays out? Because everyone's just waiting for the BOJ, and I think that's going to be the slipperiest trade to try to get confirmation on the central bank to tell you when to trade it. That's what's so hard. That's like saying, "Hey, Frank, when are you gonna weaken?"
I think the first step is you have to just watch price action. So
sure, of course.
I think we're gonna get above 52, and if we get above 152, that's gonna be my cue right there. Is I need to start watching it very carefully, because once it gets above 152, I think we're gonna have a similar setup to what we're gonna get in equities. You're gonna get a false breakout to the upside. It's gonna squeeze everybody who's short. Dollar yen's going to get up towards 150 or 153, 154. And then you got to start looking at the other directions, because these BOJ governors, this is their opportunity. You think about what they're going to do and how they're going to normalize policy. They need a weaker yen going into their move. So if they make their move right now, we're trading down at 120. If they make their move from up here, we're trading back down at 135. No harm, no foul. We're in the same spot we were at a year ago. You get what I'm saying? Let positioning get a little up, a little higher, and then I'm looking to fade this move. So
I love it, man. And I will say this: do you think? And I'm assuming that that type of move that switches from a negative one, negative 0.1% that goes positive by, let's say, 25, 30 basis points, the volatility is going to be crazy. Like we've
will
seen this
be,
before in these when these big like carry trades unwind, the volatility might double or triple. You're going to see daily trading ranges on the yen go from 200, 300, 400 pips. I think. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, if you guys were around in the early, well, say mid, right, like right around 2000, right around here, these levels right here, the carry was just as popular then as it is now. So yeah, the volatility is going to be extremely high. So therefore, you got to watch two things. You got to watch negative carry, which is going to be it's going to impact you as a trader, and then you got to just trade smaller, wider stops. It's just the way you're going to have to approach this.
Yep. I like it, man. I'm in. Count me in.
Sounds good, man.
Give us
this could be a very interesting. I think
there we go.
The big takeaway from anybody watching both of these guys discussing the trade is notice something very interesting about their methodology. They're hunting a level. They're not simply reacting to where the market is now. They're envisioning where the market could be a month from now or several weeks from now, and then reacting off of that scenario because they think one A, B, C, D will create a certain reaction. That's a very, very important setup. Traders plan their trades far in advance. They don't simply react to whatever is the wiggle of the day. That's a really, really good skill to acquire. So, guys, we're coming to the end of the show. We don't have much time for Q&A. There was one Q&A. Somebody was asking about top 3 tech stocks for 2024, or your favorite tech stocks for 2024. I'm just curious. I'll actually flip it around. I'm actually curious. The 3 weakest tech stocks for 2024. What do you think is the weakest?
Weakest. Well, I think that your semiconductors at some point are going to crash. You can't have an SMCI or an Nvidia be up this much without having some checks. So those rallies get checked at some point. It might be noisy, but it's going to end violently at some point. And so honestly,
a 100-point day in Nvidia.
Yeah, it'll just be blood in the streets on semiconductors for whatever reason. Maybe energy pops as a sector rotation. One thing with like the Mag 7 and the concentration at the top 2 is you will start to see undervalued tech or undervalued utilities or undervalued healthcare and financials, better lower beta stocks, especially if you go into some indecision, like Blake's talking about shorting the SPY at these levels. So that makes a lot of sense to me, where there's going to be an aggressive sector rotation probably happen in 2024. I think that Tesla, in all honesty, might be my better tech play this year because it's so beat up. It's so beat up. Yeah, and I'm long Tesla at 170, 175. And again, not crazy. I'm trading a lot of options around it, but I think we put in some lows that maybe just drift higher because it's 30+% off the recent highs. It's 60+% off the all-time highs.
Right.
The company still makes money. It's like, they dropped their price of the cars and it's disrupting the auto industry. But at the end of the day, there's still a car maker. There's still a battery maker. There's still a tech company. And I think the hard part with Tesla is you're trading Elon Musk, not just Tesla. So the drama that goes into that, pick and choose your battles. But I think Tesla's a long this year, in my opinion.
I'll be selling you all day long. I'm on the
okay. All right.
Wow.
What about you, Blake?
I gotta. Have you guys seen the weekly chart on SMCI?
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. 150%, dude. It's ridiculous.
This could quite possibly be the worst performing stock of 2024, and also one of the better performing stocks of 2024.
Yeah, that is.
It could lose 50% of its value and still look good by the end of the year.
And still be great.
I know.
It's wild.
It makes Bitcoin look like a 10-year treasury. I know. It's insane.
Crazy.
It's insane.
Oh, man.
All right, guys, we gotta wrap up. We got challenge 3. Spin the wheel. We're gonna spin the wheel and trade the asset. Let's go, my friends. It's gonna be very, very fun because the choice is not gonna be yours. You're gonna have to choose what the market gives you and trade that way.
All right. No whammies.
No whammies.
Go.
Is it silver?
It's gold.
Oh, gold. I'm sorry.
Let's
so
go.
love and hate it. Are you a buyer underneath 2,000, or you're a seller here?
I've had the level on my charts on 2,000 for the last couple of weeks. As we saw a dollar index indecision, I'm going to go with an instant short. If I've got to take a trade on it, I'm going to go short on gold.
I'm there with you. They're
Yep,
gonna
I'll go
squeeze
short on gold. Stop loss
Right.
above the daily high. So my trade would be I'd short at spot at 1992. My stop loss is above this CPI candle at 2031. Whatever that is, distance wise, just try to double it. So if I'm going after a point spread here, around 40, let's say 43 on the stop, just put me at 86 to 100 on the downside, and just see if we can get some love there.
I'm actually curious, just before we run to Blake, what happens when you're 50% towards target? Do you ever lighten up? Do you ever scale out a little bit, or are you just like hardcore? I'm either win or lose 2-1. How do you trade?
I personally, options, I'll take the 25 and 50% take profits all day because I trade with high probabilities.
Right.
Currencies and risk reward like gold, silver currencies, I like to just go after my profit targets. I am a disciplined, but I'm a stubborn trader when it comes to my profit targets. I will hold until I think these pockets and these confluences, convergences, all these things that make sense in the chart, I'll hold to those levels. And so I trade really small because of that, because I want to give myself flexibility, but I'm holding these things. And, for me, if I'm putting a stop here, it's a win or lose. I'm not going to take it off. And I mean, if we're going to close it out by the end of the week for charity, great. I'll take some profit. But I test, I build robots, I build strategies. The best way to make money is to have a win percentage that's decent and having a reward to risk that's favorable. That's how you get ahead. It's so hard to be an 80% winner that makes 20 cents on the dollar.
I'm an 80% winner.
Well, but your win percentage is how you get the job done. But for the most part, I mean, just think about how much a bigger win can make up for those losses and trade size and all that stuff. So,
you either do it by price, or you do it by risk reward. That's the only way to do it. Blake, my friend, the spinning the wheel to you. Let's see what we got.
Oh shoot! I thought I was good.
To say. Wait,
did you want gold?
Sirens pass here for a second. I'm gonna let Sirens pass. Okay, NASDAQ.
Well, first of all, let me just say, in Chris's defense, I would have traded gold exactly the way you traded. I was like, yep. I thought I was going to do the same trade, so I was basically going to mimic your trade and say ditto. Because that's exactly how.
I was worried. I was worried you're going to have to came in on gold. Thank God it's going to get NASDAQ. But NASDAQ is going to be the same trade. You're going to go down on it. I'm sure you're going to trade NASDAQ down, right?
Yeah, of course. So we're gonna pull that up right now. Let me pull up the NASDAQ 100, and you gotta. I think you got to trade it just like the S&P. Although I do look at NASDAQ as being more. It's like the current Dow, if you will. So the one thing I do think about this is a lot of big tech companies are viewed as the new GE, you know what I mean?
Right.
If you're
Yeah.
So you got to be a little bit more respectful of how funds approach tech stocks now, and the technology sector is more of a safety type of sector. So therefore, I'm not looking as much downside as I would in the broad markets. Like, when you have the whole market where you got all these big, just a few big names taking up the entire market, NASDAQ is a lot of tech companies. Yes, it's tech heavy, but as a whole, I think it's going to outperform the S&P. But I still wouldn't want to trade it on the long side at this point. So what I'll be doing is I'll be looking for a market, and I'm going to just do it right here. Sell stops above the highs, which would be 80. Let's put in 80, 18,051, and make sure I have the correct sizing. So I'm risking about $2,000, looking for a move down to the 38% retracement. I don't want to look for too big of a move lower. I think we break through the channel, through the 50 DMA, shakes out some longs. We can target 16, basically 16.5. And, maybe we're going to go like not with a full half lot, maybe like 0.4. So we're risking 1,700 to make 4,500. I think this is a decent trade.
Yeah.
So I want to be on the short side. Again, not targeting a lot. I'm not looking for like the S&P. I'm looking for a much bigger swoosh down. I think you're going to find buyers in the tech sector on any major dip that you see in the market.
Right. Interesting. No, but I think there'll be some continuity. This news it has duration in it, in my opinion, because it's not going to change. Nobody's going to be thinking the Fed is going to be loose for a while. I think, and it takes a while for that sentiment to go through the market. NASDAQ is most vulnerable to high rates. So I think you guys are right. I think we got some great trades for you guys. Short NASDAQ, short S&P, short gold for everybody who's watching. We're going to keep track of this. Everybody join the trading battle club. Make sure that you become a member. This way we can keep you updated both on the trades and the new trading battles coming up. I hope you guys really enjoyed the opening of our season. I will see you guys in the markets. Thank you very much, Blake. Thank you very much, Chris. Everybody follow them, ForexAnalytix and at Edgefinder. And I will see everybody at BK Traders, the Spore Schlossberg, for the trading battle. Over and out.